Welcome to the Gyber Geek YouTube channel. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, aka the Gyber Geek, and today is another exciting episode of Gyber Legends, and we are greeted by the one, the only Michael Berriman. Michael?
Hey, how you doing today? It's nice to be on board, and nice. I'll have to do a shout out to all the Guyver fans. It's quite an experience. I was very happy to be part of it, and I've got some cool little memories to share with you.
Well, I can't wait. And as a lot of fans know, you were in The Hills Have Eyes, you were in Weird Science, classic films for a lot of us. And for Guyver fans, we know you as Lisker, one of the head kind of cronies of Kronos in your squad. And I just kind of want to talk about a couple things. One, what brought you to the production of the film?
Well, the straightforward answer to that question is I got a telephone call from my agent.
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
That's how it usually starts. And I like the script. I like sci-fi. I always have. And when I went to get the body cast done for the Lister outfit, that was if you've never had a body cast done, it's trippy. The head
Yeah.
casts are pretty common, but anyway, when I got to see the final product, I was super impressed with Screaming Mad George and his attention to detail. The suits are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I almost tried to buy it from him, but and then my stunt double, of course, wore the suit, and they worked very, very, very well. That was my arm when the arm splits and I did the first transformation. Working with Jimmy Walker and Mark Hamill and Spice Williams, we had a blast. It was a top-notch production, and the attention to quality and detail, especially out of Japan, from their focus and vision, they really do things right.
Yeah, the film just had a re-release, a 4K release on Blu-ray just last month, and the film
Oh,
looks beautiful. And the costumes, especially, they look like it could have been made today. Like that, the quality and the costumes that they put into in 1991 are second to none. Kind of going back to your cast, like getting your cast. I had interviewed Bruno Patrick, who is the bad guy in the second Guyver film, and he talked about they had to basically put Q-tips in his nose to make the cast, and then pull those out to kind of give him some airways to breathe in. Was it a similar experience, kind of uncomfortable for you?
yes, in a standard head cast, I mean, you're covered from the neck, your whole head to here, and it's to get a good relief of during the casting process. You have to stay still and not move your muscles very much. You want it to get it as sharp as possible. So it comes down to a trust. Special effects makeup artists are a breed to their own, and when it comes time to and they're always apologetic during the whole process.
Sure,
Oh, I'm so
sure.
sorry. I'm so sorry. And they do whatever they do, and you wind up to where they will, they take a Q-tip or whatever and keep the goo from going up your nose. So because breathing is kind of cool. I mean, your mouth is covered the whole 9 yards. And when I
Right.
did the body cast, we did half the body, then I flipped over and we did the rest of the body. But if you've never had the experience, and few people would, I would say it's kind of unique because, like if you, I'm sure you've had a cast, like you break an arm or a leg or a limb,
Sure.
and the process, it gets warm and then it cools, and then you can get some separation after the alginate, for instance, and what we use starts to firm up. But I use it as a meditative moment because you don't have much choice.
You're
You,
stuck.
you're on board with this. It's going to take this amount of time, and so um, I just go into a particular zone and stay comfortable there. And one of the things they usually ask the makeup artist is they'll say, "Is there any particular music you'd like to listen to, and that's appreciated. I think I went with the Beach Boys or
Oh,
the
good.
Birds or something like that from my
Yeah.
I'm from the '60s and '70s era and beyond. But um, so that's kind of the ambiance in the room, and it's friendly, it's supportive, and you don't want to do it twice. And I've been very blessed to have done it. Uh, one take wonder, so to speak. I've had it done on Star Trek episodes, and then also I think, when I did the another full-time body casting was with Andrew Gady's only film called The Evil Within. The working title was Storyteller, and that was a
Yeah.
full body cast. And of course when I um, did The Crow with Brandon Lee. Skull Cowboy footage there's some viewing of it in some special editions, but we also had to have head cast and body cast on there. So it is a unique experience, and when you finally start to come out of it, they're working on you and they're cutting through
Sure.
um, through the plaster. It's
Yeah.
like, uh, you're only going to go through the plaster and not into my skull, are you? And they know what they're doing. And then when it's about ready to separate the two pieces, it's kind of fun because they'll say, okay, start doing this to separate. You can feel
Right.
your skin separating from the alginate. And, um, and then there you are. And, the end result is actually like having a facial. I mean,
You feel pretty
it works
rejuvenated.
wonders.
Yeah, I bet it
Yeah,
does. Yeah. You just need a steam room
yeah,
after that, and you're probably pretty good.
yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, whenever you're reading the script before you get on the set and obviously you do your face cast, do they show you some sketches of what your character will look like when he does transform? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
guess,
It's pretty cool.
yeah, it's really cool. And like, so you're going into the movie knowing that you're the head honcho, you're kind of the badass of the group, right? And I would argue that you're the main antagonist of the film until the very end of the movie, and you're kind of Guyver's main foil. So what's it, at one of the interviews that David Gale did in 1991 for Fangoria magazine, he was quoted as saying, I'm having a lot of fun with this part, especially since I get to do comedy, and that was never really intended beforehand, but the situation kind of demands humor. So, kind of, what was it like working with him, and also what was the kind of the vibe on set when you guys are trying to find the tone of this movie?
Oh, David was awesome. We hit it off right away. We did the scene where we figured on, well, talking with George and knowing the script and knowing who has what superpowers and who should be concerned about what person being upset because they have powers. And so there are times when Lisker is, even though he's a badass and yeah, he's a tough guy. There are moments when he's like kind of contrite, and that's when he kind of screws up and David's very upset. And then we end the scene with the toaster gag, which I
Right.
think it's wonderfully hilarious. So we were working the scene out and how to end it. And George, we all agreed that that would be a perfect cutaway. And then he chose to take his hands and do that, the slap on top of the toaster. I mean, he could have picked it up and tossed it out of the room or hit it with a
Sure.
hammer. So those little nuanced choices that the actors have the creative leeway. I always find it interesting to see what choices they make and how well do they fit into the cutting process. And most of the time, the directors are very pleased with it, and then they don't come up with an alternative, so to speak. Um, I really enjoyed when Lister gets to, kick ass, so to speak, and he's not intimidated by his boss anymore. When I'm working with that Spice Williams, she was absolutely delightful. We had an absolute blast when the boys were inside taking care of business, and her and I are in the van at night, and we're George, he sort of made up that scene. We sort of just off the cuff said, well, um, you know, here's a couple. And what do these people do? They don't just chase Guyvers,
all the time.
24/7. They have a life. So, so we incorporated. Well, the three of us had a conversation, and we came up with, well, they're going to complete the mission, and then they're going to do something. So, Lister comes up with, well, actually, it was Spice. She goes, you never take me on vacation. We don't do anything or go anywhere. And it was perfect. It's perfect. And then, Lister goes, well, this Guyver thing. And she interrupts and she goes, well, will you take me on vacation? I go, yes, to Brazil. Brazil. And she says, she's a tough, kick-ass chick. And she goes, will you take me shopping? And then Lister kind of goes, oh, yeah, I'll take you shopping. I don't want anybody to see me taking you shopping, but
Sure.
so it was a good ploy and a good way to show how can I put it? Broaden the boundaries of what these characters are made of. They're not just,
Yeah.
it's not just a video game, so to
Yeah,
speak.
they have lives outside of the narrative that
Yes.
we're typically seeing, right? And I think, like you touched upon a minute ago, is that being able to improv like that, it sometimes you find something special, like that a genuine reaction from the other person because it surprises them, and it's fun when that gets captured on camera, and then it's even more fun when the director likes what you're doing.
Well, I think that's what actors do. I mean, studios could just do everything with AI, and it
Sure.
would be like it might as well be living in a matrix. No, I like the real world. I like to go out and this is dirt. This is what dirt smells like. I mean, oh no, we have an app for that. I mean, no, 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 no. That's why I've always admired sci-fi writers ever since I was, 10 years old. My Aunt Peggy, she was a nurse, very brilliant. She would always bring us, books for holidays and birthday parties, and she gave me an anthology of H.G. Wells. And one of my favorite short stories is "The Machine Stops."
Right, it's a good one.
The Machine Stops by H.G. Wells. It's just a brilliant, brilliant piece, and and the same goes for action movies and also sometimes into the horror genre. People go, well, what's with all the, well, if you don't have an imagination, then, that explains to me why you're asking the question of why do we do what we do?
Right.
Because you have to come back to the center, which is, you yourself, your ethics, your values, what boundaries you have, all of that kind of stuff is important. And then, and the films that are a little more gritty, I've had people say, well, these upset me. And I go, well, good. If it didn't upset you, then I wouldn't want to be in the same room with you.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and they start to get it. I mean, I've had parents be very worried about things like that. And then I say, well, look, I was born in 1948. My dad went to Hiroshima, Nagasaki. He was a Marine surgeon, brain surgeon. And I got pictures of shadows on walls that used to be people. That's
Right.
why I had to have a craniectomy. I had birth defects from, can you imagine the bombs? Yeah, gee, golly, it was. So we were taught, like in the movie, the Joe Dante movie, Matinee with John Goodman. There's a wonderful little speech he gives, and also the moment when the girl gets in trouble and has to go to the principal's office. She's telling it truthfully. Well, that's how we saw it, in my generation. And once you see behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz, you can't go back.
True.
You know,
Very true.
So what are you going to do?
No, I 100% agree with you. I think being able to see and discuss hard things leads to great discussion, and you can't come to a new consensus without hearing all of the ideas. And so I think I 100% agree with you, and kind of piggybacking on doing this as an art form and revealing something about either humanity or talking about humanity. Is there a role that you a kind of role that you didn't get to do that you would like to do, like that you more dabble in, so to speak? You've done a lot,
Well,
but
that of course is a yes, and you touched on one of my favorite words, which is has the H factor, which is humanity. It's all about humanity when you really get down to it. I remember the first time I saw a picture of the Earth from outer space from a satellite. It was significant, and I think in the late '60s, when the whole Earth catalog first came out, on front of the cover was Earth from one side, and the back was Earth on the other side, and that kind of dovetailed into a kind of a bookend everything about youth generation and is there hope for a future? Well, if there isn't, then all bets are off, and what does it matter? So it's a constant theme that's gone on forever, and hopefully will continue. I know people that are already concerned today about a lot of issues, and you know what? Yeah, if we come together and take care of one another, and do what needs to be done in a thoughtful manner, it's going to be all right, you know. But as far as roles, yes, the last time I ever had to audition was for the X-Files episode where I play a guardian angel, and I
yep.
wound up getting killed by the bad guy, and yet gives the boy a chance to be rescued. Well, I had some personal experiences in safety, I'll just put it that way. And sometimes things don't always work out in a heroic fashion, like it, in a movie. Oh, they tidied up everything, and the hero, he got past the dark night of the soul, and he rose to the occasion, and everything's hunky dory. Well, in the real world, it might be hunky, but it might not be hunky and dory. So.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
that gave me an opportunity to close some doors in my spirit, so to speak, and then heal. How do we heal from situations that are unintended, and then there they are, and there you are. What are you going to do? And how do you get to the other side of that and continue on with what's most important in who and what you are, in your spirit and your endeavors, and why you do these things? So I went in to meet Chris Carter, and I said, "Hey, we'll have dinner in Vancouver, and I will give you the personal reasons why this role means so much to me. But I know you're going to see 100 actors, and I promise I won't tell anybody that I got the part." And I'm challenging him, and there's David Nutter, my director, just watching this whole time, and I go, "So I'm going to read for you, and you're going to hire me." Whoa! So
It's
I
good.
read. He gave me one comment, and we read a second time, and then everybody looked at everybody, and they said, "We'll see you in Vancouver." And I said, yeah, check out. I know some of the actors in the lobby that you're waiting to see, and probably some more that aren't there yet. And they're all talented, and they all deserve a shot at it. So I'll keep my mouth shut when I walk out the door, and I'll pretend like I didn't get the job. I barely made it out of the lobby
I
without,
bet.
and hooping and hollering, which I did when I got out to the street. But that meant a lot. Also, we're working with Brandon Lee, getting to be, we became very close friends very, very quickly.
Wow.
Um, I'm a huge advocate of safety. I had an NRA card when I was 12 years old. I've been around that process. Safety is super, super important. I've been shot twice on set.
Wow.
One with a blank in the eye. Yeah, that was fun. Um,
Wow.
Another time it was, well, I didn't get the pellets that time, but I had a guy aim a rifle at me after we'd already decided, you come out of the alley and I come around the corner, and here's how we do this, and we check everything. And but if I don't see you for at any point in time, I don't care if it's 2 seconds, I'm going to consider that a live round danger. And if you point to me, I'm going to run right up to you, and I'm going to take you to the ground, take the weapon away, and pick you back up and say thank you, I apologize. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And the director's going, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "I told you. If you have to realign the camera and line of sight and all of that, then we do that. But I don't cut corners." Alec Baldwin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things happen. David Hexum comes to mind. I mean, these are no jokes. Um, Yeah, I was working on The Gambler, number three, with Kenny Rogers, great guy, great production company, and guys tells me turn around, get up and turn around real slow, and I do, and it's the prop guy, big guy, and he's off camera, you don't see him, and he shoots a blank at me. Well, you don't see the gun, this dummy. He aimed right at my face. I had granules in my eyeball. I could feel the percussion from the air, and then I could feel the little pieces of black powder penetrate my eye. But it was early in my career, and I was afraid I'd get in trouble if I sued him. So maybe
Sure.
I should have. It would have been handy. But anyway, it was fine. I got the eye healed up and everything, and they took care of me. And but the words coming out of the guy's mouth were, "I didn't aim it at you, man." And boy, that was not the things for him to say.
That, yeah.
But see, filming, just like working with George and the rest, you have an artistic vision and you have a working process. Um, it's a workspace. You're on a job site, so we look after one another. And I knew that I was, and he was. I said, "This is not going to end well." Um, and I just called out our union drivers. I'm a union guy, and our Teamsters, we call
Yeah.
them brothers. I remember calling out. I said, "Grab me now, please, please grab me early. Grab me and take me to the emergency room because if he gets within striking distance, I'm getting an eyeball or something." And
Right.
everything worked out fine. But
Yeah, when it comes to a
safety
film
is
set and
important.
safety, I think one thing people need to understand, like, yes, there's a lot of money riding on these films in the moment, the people who are working on them. But at the end of the day, this is a product that is going out to people. It's entertainment, right? Whether that entertainment says something or it doesn't, that's kind of irrelevant when it comes to the safety of the people on board. And that should be one of the
Well,
most, if not,
yeah,
yeah,
and look what happened. Look what happened with the Crow. I mean, they
yeah,
had to replace Brandon. I got the phone call the day before I was to fly out and spend 2 weeks with him, and our two characters were going to work out the three major confrontations with Skull Cowboy and Eric Draven.
yeah.
But it was a blessing to know him, meet him, and I keep in touch with Rochelle, and I see James every once in a while. So it's a family.
Yeah. You become a family when you're on set like that sometimes. I on the previous interviews I've done, you don't know this, but I've been involved in the film scene for the last 10 years, primarily working in the independent space. And I always kind of equate making a movie going to war, right? You're in the trenches and it's long hours and it can get real muddy and sometimes nasty, but at the end of the day, you're all there for a common goal. But it's like you come out stronger and hopefully together. Sometimes, you butt heads with people, but at the end of the day, you get really close with them. You literally get close with them in a room, sometimes too close. And by the end of it, you just, I always kind of thought that filmmakers maybe had a little bit of masochism in them. Because it's very painful sometimes making the movie, and then but when you're done, you're like, that was horrible, but I want to go back and do it again. Right? It's just this weird push and pull sometimes.
Right. Sometimes the director can be well. There are boundaries, of course.
Sure.
Now, I worked with Rogero Deodato 4 separate occasions, and it's a love. It's not a love-hate relationship. It's just he can be well. Really? That's what you want? Okay. And there's times when the actor needs to be able to say yes or no, or we need to address this. But yeah, it can be really, really challenging. In Hills Have Eyes Part Two, the original Part Two, the guy, I forget his name, it was a motorcycle guy. And there's a scene where I kick him in the head. Pluto kicks him in the head, and he hadn't done much in the way of filming at that point in time, so he didn't understand it. The framing, camera, lens, aspect ratio, and none of that. He didn't know
Sure.
any of that. He hadn't learned yet. So we're doing a take, and I had moccasins on, which was helpful, and the cameras, you see this, and there's his head, and my foot's supposed to hit him and go out of frame. Well, he had no idea what a frame was. Later on, I said, "Hey, ask the DP if Eric can let you look through the camera." And oh, it's a square. Yeah, okay, that helps. You get a book on cinema to learn shit. So
Yeah, absolutely.
He's trying to figure out how Wes is, trying to get the shot. And every minute costs you money, depending on the budget. It could cost you a lot of money. So
Sure.
he goes, here's what he says. He goes, I don't know how to make this work. Why don't you just actually, I have a thick skull, quote, I have a thick skull. Just kick me in the head.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing and I'm going, well, I appreciate that, but you know what? We might have to do more than one take. So
Yeah.
how about this? The foot comes up and then you feel it and just keep contact. Don't make it obvious, but keep contact. And then I have my knee bent. Now my foot's against your face. All I have to do is that. And then you can just, he goes,
Sure.
oh, wow, what a great idea.
It's very great.
We did it in one take.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much better than the alternative. One thing I want to kind of ask you about that you said real quick was that when you make a movie, it can be really expensive per the minute, right? And it's really attributed to back in the day when we were shooting on film, right? Literally, we have a film canister or film inside the camera. It's rolling, it's exposing itself, and it's costing money, physically costing money. Now we tend to see, I'd say 95% or more, we're shooting on digital cameras. One thing I have suspected, and I think I've also noticed that throughout filmmaking, is that filmmaking is much less disciplined now than it used to be. And that comes down from actors hitting their marks, directors knowing exactly what they want going into the film process. Have you seen that change across the industry? Like when you're on set, like actors are less likely to hit their marks. Like back in the day, you had to hit like this particular point, so you're in focus, right? And you're exposing for film. Have you seen that change?
I haven't seen it change that much. I did remember when I did Cuckoo's Nest, my second day was day one, and I worked 127 days, and I learned a lot. I asked a lot of questions, and
Yeah,
um, they have the tape I take the end of the tape. I know exactly what to do with it. I put it right up to here so they can get the focal distance just right, dial it in. I had one scene where I had five or six, maybe even seven focus points. I had to get from one point to another in a scene in a room, and then at certain points, I had to have an make a face, give a wink and a nod, do a turn, do a little action, and whoa, you better show up at work, clear-headed and ready to go and be sharp. Now, I haven't. They still use marks, and they have some other toys to play with, so to speak. But I think I've seen the process pretty much the same. Um, Interior or exterior on location or in studio. I've seen pretty much the same process. And what you said about rolling film is in the old days. Well, these days people shoot. I know people that shoot on Super 16 and
sure.
they have fun with it. Yeah, editing process is very cool. So um, it's, you'll ask your DP, and the DP and the director and the actress have to know how long the take is going to be, and then sometimes they go, "We only have so many feet left in the reel, so okay, reload." Reloading.
Sure.
Now in Cuckoo's Nest, we used carbon arc lighting, which was amazing, and when the rods got burnt down to a certain point, they start to flicker, and that could be a problem if you're especially doing the ECU in a extreme close up or something of that nature.
Right.
Um, so we had to make sure that those were accommodating what the scene required. So even with the new technology and the new equipment, there's still aspects that everybody needs to be on page with and share that information with your talent so everybody can get things done right. Well, I would say my biggest complaint over the years in filmmaking is if you're doing an indie or a high budget film, live sound is critical and you want clean live sound. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you have an actor and in the time and space in the moment, maybe doing a nuance that is creative and is art. Hello, and you can't dub that in post and get the same emotional contact. Why? Well, you're not in the scene in the moment with those actors or that situation that you are creating to make it, and you have brought it to yourself to believe that this is really happening.
Sure.
2, 3, 4 months later, a year later, you're in a sound booth trying to make it right. Yeah, no, no, live sound really, really important.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, just even the temperature in the room in which you were originally doing the original performance, the reacting off of somebody, those are hard to kind of put yourself back in there when you're in a really kind of sterile sound booth sometimes. So I've dealt with that too on a couple occasions. Kind of pulling it back
Oh,
to the
also
Guyver.
rehearsal with camera and talent.
Sure.
Yeah, at least block the major scenes. We did 2 weeks, 2 6-day weeks on Cuckoo's Nest with camera and blocking. Whoa! And we had to spend an hour a day with real patients at the hospital. That was a real working hospital at the time,
Wow.
so that helped a
No,
lot.
absolutely. Yeah, I think, from my experience, you can prepare. It don't matter how much you prepare. It feels like sometimes you never are prepared enough. But
Yeah,
you make the movie three times. You make it in pre-production when you write it and when you get things ready. You make it when you shoot it. You make it when you edit it, right? And so one of my favorite sentiments I've heard from other filmmakers and stuff is that, or particularly from actors, is that when my director came on set, it was like they already made the movie. They already made it months ago. I'm just here trying to execute the thing they already made before I got here because that's how prepared they are. And that's the kind of director that I particularly would want to work with on set. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time here. I want to ask you one last question, particularly to Guyver. Um, you have all these people in monster suits. You have Mark Hamill on set, David Gale, just a lot of crazy things happening. What was your fondest memory about working on the movie?
Well, we had Jimmy Walker.
And Jimmy Walker, yes.
Um, uh, okay, two quick ones come to mind.
Yeah.
Well, three actually. Okay. We were filming downtown Los Angeles where the river basin, it's all concrete channels where, it rains in LA and the water goes to the ocean. And it's not an aqueduct, it's just a big old concrete miles and miles of water goes downhill and flows into the ocean. So, and at night we had LAPD for security, which they were wonderful. And so uh, I had a LA Times full page ad for The Hills Have Eyes. And in the lower right corner, real small, was one for In a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And it had been out for years. So, of course, it was smaller, everybody knew about it. So I autographed this thing and I gave it to Mark. And I said, "Hey, Mark, look at, I'm on the poster. I'm going to be a star. I'm a star. I hope someday your career takes off." And he's just grinning. And he goes, "Thank you." And I go, "What's this In a Galaxy Far, Far Away crap? Could that be any good?" And he just started laughing, and he goes, "Maybe." So that was a fun part of an evening. And then one one night I was hassling Jimmy Walker. I asked him just telling some bad jokes. So my bad jokes are terrible.
Sure.
They'll make you laugh, but you couldn't have a career doing it. So I came up to him for a subsequent time and I said, "Hey, Jimmy," and he just did this, and he hissed at me and he goes, "Michael, please, no more. They hurt." And I go, "Yeah." Yeah, he says, "You don't tell jokes, you share pain." That
That's
was fun. And
hilarious.
then
Yeah.
here's the crescendo. Okay. I don't know, 2:30 in the morning, I hear some gunshots. So I walk around the corner where I hear these gunshots, and there's the concrete where water runs down into the ocean, the LA river basin, and there's our two LAPD security guys popping rounds off, like 100, 150 yards away to the other side of it. And they see me and they go, "Oh, hi." And I go, "Gentlemen, what are you doing?" They go, "Oh, here, take a look." And I look, and there's these black holes. They're tunnels where water joins to the larger area where water flows down to the ocean. And I look and I see things move and I go, "You're shooting at dogs?" And he goes, "No, those aren't dogs. Those are harbor rats." And then he hands me his gun and he says, "Here, you want to take a few shots?"
Wow. Wow.
That actually happened.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, I shot twice, but I aimed away from them. I mean, they don't floss. You don't want to get bit by them, but yeah, the look on their face was hilarious.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that
Well,
all really happened.
yeah, I know. I bet it did. Well, Michael, I just want to kind of say for all the Guyver fans out there that Lisker, particularly, is probably the most famous creature design amongst both films. That design also appears in the second film as well. And there's a lot of people out there who are constantly making those costumes, constantly making like homemade action figures of that character. And you playing that role has meant a lot to a lot of people, including myself, throughout the years. And I just want to take this second to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us and talk to us about
You
acting and
bet.
talk to about Guyver.
Thanks again for the memories. It was a great experience, and yes, to all the Guyver fans out there, um, keep doing what you're doing, man. And again, I'm always amazed at the the artwork that these people come up with. Some of the miniatures and
Yeah,
copies of the various characters. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. So, I couldn't live on a planet without art. So there you go.
that's awesome. Well, for our listeners, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. That way you can get more episodes of Guyver Legends like this one. We have some really exciting guests around the corner. We previously interviewed Evil Ted Smith and Wyatt Weed and David Hayter, and those are all great people to listen to talk about filmmaking as well as these two beloved films. Michael,
Do what
thank you
he
again.
says.
Yes, yeah, Michael's on my camp here. Michael, thank you again so much, man, and maybe we'll talk again in the future.
We shall. Be
Awesome.
safe.
Take care.
For more content like this, head over to youtube.com/@theguyvergeek for 4K remasters, retrospectives, behind the scenes, and more as we catalog the Guyver universe. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.